Hi, you guys. So, tonight when I was reading my Bible, I came across this verse, and I want to share it with you guys because God has been giving me these revelations of things, and He's been really talking to me, to my soul, to my heart, to my mind, and this is confirmation tonight. So maybe someone else needs it. Maybe God has been giving them the same feelings that He's been giving me, and I just want to let you guys know you're right. If you've been feeling this way, justice is coming. No justice, no peace, and God's army is forth, and He's with. They're with us, and they're not gonna take their foot off of our enemy's neck. So when I read this night, I was like, let me share it because maybe someone else needs to hear it. But it's Psalms 46, verse 6 through 7. The nations are in chaos, and their kingdoms crumble. God's voice thunders and the earth melts. The Lord of heaven's army is here among us. The God of Israel is our fortress. So when I read that tonight, I was just thinking like, wow, God, you're just so amazing because, God's been kind of giving me signs and, like I said, revelations of like, my child, be at peace and know that I'm listening to you. I've heard every word. I've heard every cry. I've heard every prayer, and those things have not gone unnoticed. And my army's there with you. You know, our hope should always be in Jesus Christ because He is trustworthy. So when you get these feelings or these just knowings, and you don't know, like, why do I know that? Or it's God giving it to you. It's God letting you know that everything's going to be okay. What God's been kind of telling me lately is those that have been in the front of the line, it's now, or those that have been in the back of the line, it's now time for them to come to the front of the line. God sees that those that He's blessed with financial freedom and power, they have taken complete advantage of it, and they're not doing what's right with it. A lot of us that have lived in poverty in our families, generation after generation, have lived that way. Sometimes it could be a curse that was put upon our families. That's why our families stay in poverty, and that's why the rich stay rich. Every generation continues to be that way, and God is saying no, not anymore. He sees that those that He's blessed financially have taken advantage, and they're greedy, and they want more and more and more, and those that He's given power to aren't doing what's right with the power. And when I think of power, I think of anyone that can make a decision in someone else's life, and that person has no say. So that could go from like maybe a supervisor at work, or law enforcement, a judge, a lawyer, those that are not working in God's will and doing what's right. God's saying now it's time. Those badges, those honors, that power will be stripped from them, and those that maybe have been wanting the opportunity to be in those spots, He's going to give. And I encourage you today, because I truly feel this with all my heart and mind. If God gives you the opportunity to be blessed abundantly, then use it for good. Use it in the right way. Help God's people. Use your financial freedom in the best way that you can, because you know what it's like to live in poverty. You know what it's like to not have, but to want something, or you know what it's like to maybe even go without eating. And pray for those people too. If you don't have, like, I don't have the financial freedom to be able to help every person I see, and but I do have prayer. I can pray, and I think there's so much power in prayer. If you see someone on the street and they just touched your heart, say a prayer for them. God hears your prayers. But yeah, God has been letting me know that His army's here, and if you feel like you've been falsely accused, or you've been under ill illusions, assumptions, and false allegations and lies, and you didn't do any of those things, that it's not true, it's just the devil here to attack you and knock you down. God is saying enough is enough, and no more. That is my child, and my child will not be touched. if you know what I've been going through, I say it all the time. Like, the people in my community, falsely underestimated my love for my children, my love for God, and my faith. Um, so when they see me, I've been hearing lately, like, oh, she's a witch. And that's why our, black magic and witch spells aren't working. No, I've never been a witch, and I will never. I mean, there's good witches too, I believe, but I don't really know how all that works. But I don't claim to be a witch. I'm not a witch. I don't do any of that woohoo stuff, and I don't mess with that. All I do is pray to God. I write in my journal to God. I read my Bible, and my faith in God can definitely move a mountain. And I encourage you to, if you're going through anything that I'm going through, find faith in God. Let go of that fear and know that God will not forsaken you. The war has been won. It's our victory. The war was won a long time ago. Unfortunately, these people didn't realize that, and they seem to think that they have power that was never given to them. It was never their place to think that someone needs to be humble, so I'm going to humble them. It was never their place to take anyone's inheritance. It was never their place to take what does not belong to them. That's entitlement. And those that have been feeling like they are entitled to other people's blessings, other people's lives, other people's, you know, basically future and blessings. Like, you are not entitled to that. I will keep saying it. Stop. We need to stop as a whole and as society. Stop worrying about racism, um, and start worrying about the people that think that they're entitled. Those that think they're entitled come in all shapes, forms, and colors, and um, they will do whatever they have to do, and that's because they feel like they're entitled. Those are the ones that you have to really watch out for. Sometimes I've heard a lot of people say, I've had friends that say, I can't, I'm afraid to let my son go down the street because I'm afraid that, he's going to be targeted because he has tattoos, or because the color of his skin, or whatever it is. And for people to be afraid of that, to me, is just insane, when we should really be, if you're targeting people because of that, you're obviously doing not God's will. You're doing, I guess, Lucifer's or the devil's will. You're not doing God's will. You're entitled, and God's now taking that from you. You are no longer the right to hold any kind of entitlement. You are no longer the right to try to play God. You don't have the ability to control someone else's life and their future. And I want to share this too. If you felt like you were entitled to take someone else's inheritance that was left to them by their loved ones, um, that's insane to me. Who are you to think that you can take what does not belong to you? Who are you to come and like change something up? If someone left an inheritance for their loved one, I truly do believe in the time of the will being written, or and especially if they were believers of God, they probably prayed to God about who they wanted to leave what to and why. And they got God gave them the answer that they needed. So in the time of them writing their will, I'm sure God was right there beside them, and God was leaving certain people, certain things for a reason, for anyone to think that they're entitled to come and take what does not belong to them. And then to try to unalive someone, or to try to drive someone so insane that they would want to alive themselves. It's insane to me. The entitlement of people is just crazy. And I said it, and I will keep saying it. My community probably thought that I was alone, and they turned every loved one that I ever loved, every person I ever known, against me. And unfortunate for the ones that do know me and that went along with it. Obviously, you're not who I thought you were, because if I allowed you into my life and I became close to you, then I trusted you. So for you to betray me in that manner and in that way is just very heart wrenching and heartbreaking. And I pray for you every day. But I just want to say, like, if you are going through anything where you have been falsely accused, you are being gang stalked, you are being harassed, you are, being lied upon, God's army is here, and it will no longer be that way. God is the God above all gods. He's the King above all kings, the Lord above all lords. And no man will change God's plan for you. No man can think that they can just do wrong and that they have the entitlement to play God and their actions are going to go unnoticed. I don't think so. God's here to redeem us. God's here to set us free. God is here to show our enemies that we are no longer allowed to be touched. I always say, like, it looks like I walk alone, but my army is invisible. And if you haven't seen my army because you lack faith, you lack belief, well, I know you most definitely will feel my army. And my army and I wear the armor and shield of God. My army is God's army, and I don't walk alone. So maybe you that think that y'all are entitled to other people's lives and other people's paths and other people's futures should really do a long, hard look in the mirror and realize that you are not God. Um, and those of you that are going through it, pray to God, ask God to redeem you, ask God to, shine light on what you feel confused on, and you know, come forth and speak and stand up for yourself and let these people that think that are entitled to your life know that they are not entitled to you. They are not entitled to your life. They are not entitled to what happens in your life. They are mere humans compared to our God. Our God will, um, stomp every scorpion or every what is it? Scorpion, serpent, evil doer. Our God will not stop, and the victory's already been won. God, that victory was won a long time ago. These people just falsely underestimated God and underestimated themselves for sure. Because if you thought that, or I don't even know if y'all underestimated yourselves or y'all didn't underestimate, y'all put yourselves in a category of believing that y'all can be God, and y'all were falsely taught wrong, I guess is what I would say. For y'all to think that the lesson will be taught until the lesson is learned. Every time I hear that, it really just puts a pit in my stomach where I want to throw up, because I know for a fact that that is what the people that have been following me, that is their philosophy. They think they have the ability and the right to teach someone a lesson that 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 doesn't belong to you. That's God's, and you most definitely are not God. And I encourage those that are going through it to pray for these people. Pray that they stop working with their worldly minds, because obviously the devil uses our minds. If we work with our our bodily minds, they say that that is the devil's playground, and he's definitely been playing in their mind. And pray that God just gives them the heart to work with their spiritual mind and not their worldly mind, and that God will soften their hearts of stone and make them flesh, and that they can see the hurt that they've caused, and may they ask God for forgiveness, and pray that God has mercy on their souls, and that God will lead them to where He wants them, and may God find forgiveness towards them, which God finds forgiveness in everyone. But I think sometimes people will just push and push and push and keep going, and then God's like, okay, enough's enough. This person's done. You know what I mean? So just pray that God, can somehow, some way allow these people to see the hurt that they've done and the hurt that they've caused, and lead them back to God. Yeah. Well, that being said, you guys have a good night. And yeah, y'all be nice and be kind and be loving, because that's what God wants us to be. And that's who God put us on